Take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
CannabisRadio.com presents The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, this is great. Yeah.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Thursday, October 13th, 2016, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Welcome, everyone. We are live on location here at the International Cannabis Business Conference in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, at the Hyatt Regency downtown. It's quite an amazing expo here. I'm on the expo floor, and ICBC has kind of a limited expo floor, just a few vendors, so it's nice and cozy, and you can talk to these people and get this information. But the session they're having in the main hall, hundreds of people attending here, sessions on activism and industry and health, Health Canada and all of that. And we'll be bringing some of those people to the table here on the show in hour 2 and tomorrow's live broadcast here from the ICBC. Great folks here. Tommy Chong is doing a keynote speech that'll happen at the end of the day, and we're hoping to get some mic time with Tommy here. Ed Rosenthal is nearby. We'll get him on the mic. I saw Kirk Tusaw, the Canadian lawyer extraordinaire. Jody Emery may stop by, Jamie Shaw. We got a lot of people to talk to today, so make sure you're staying tuned for both hours and tomorrow's show. Now, coming up on today's show, we got all sorts of interesting things to get to in hour 1. First of all, we'll have some interviews in our Cannabis Business Chronicles with a couple of the vendors here on the floor of the ICBC. One who's a manufacturer of cannabis intimate products. And another who's got a new cannabis marketing social media sort of platform to tell you about. That's coming up at 1:30. And then after that, we'll have time for a radical rant. The Drug Policy Alliance has a new report out on the results of legalization in the 4 legal states and Washington, D.C. Lots of stats on youth use, arrest rates, traffic fatalities, that kind of stuff, that completely demolish all of the scare tactics that we heard from the prohibitionists back in 2011 and 2012. So that's coming up here at the end of hour 1. Also in hour 1, we will get into some drug war data mining. We've got the latest polling updates, Canadian polling, national U.S. polling, as well as a few of the states in America that are voting on medical marijuana or legalization coming up in this upcoming election. And before that, we'll get into a behind-the-headlines story coming out of Utah, where an 18-year-old man was charged and arrested for a felony of trying to drug a cop's drink, supposedly with THC and meth. And we'll give you the update on that, what happened, and how this has impacted this young man's life when we get to Behind the Headlines. But that's right after the Cannabis Radio News. And in the headlines today, we've got the ban on kratom that the DEA had suggested. They have now pulled that ban. They've reversed the ban. We'll tell you about that. We've got a suggestion coming out of one health organization in Canada that the marijuana legal age should be 25. We've got some news out of Arkansas from their Supreme Court regarding one of the medical marijuana initiatives on the ballot. We've got a new record in Colorado for their monthly marijuana sales. Also in Utah, we've got the story of the wife of the Democratic candidate for governor there getting busted for weed. And we have an obituary for one of the greats in medical marijuana. Dr. J. Thomas Ungerleider has passed away. We'll tell you about his life and legacy. That's coming up here on the Russ Belville Show, live from International Cannabis Business Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. We've got to take a break, pay some of the bills. We'll be right back with the news. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Earn your PhD in THC monetization with CannabisRadio.com. Don't be late. The cannabis industry is growing. Business is booming. And as new opportunities arise in newly legalized states, each market is getting more competitive. Today, it takes more than just being a good grower. Do you have the resources to market and handle this ever-changing business landscape? Let Canna Management Corporation help you grow your canna business with our vast resources and experience to make your business a fully functional service company. Financial management, HR, sales, marketing, efficiency, and more. CMC has the experience and the expertise to improve your business and help you better meet the demands of your clients and customers. Call Canna Management Corporation and let our team get you ready to grow. 415-269-8015. That's 415-269-8015. Or visit canna-management.com.
It's time to Hemp Present
with Inadina Stanger.
I say to you with all the fervor of my soul that God intended men to be free. Rebellion against tyranny is a righteous cause. And I believe that with every ounce of my soul, we are fighting a righteous cause because people need nature.
Marijuana! Hemp Present, only on Cannabis Radio.
Sweet sativa,
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Your grapefruits are no match for my Trump Towers.
Okay, maybe you're high, too.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com, and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
It's time for the Cannabis Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Cannabis Radio News is now available exclusively at CannabisRadio.com. Now your marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is Cannabis Radio News.
This is your Cannabis Radio News for Thursday, October 13th, 2016. The Drug Enforcement Administration has reversed a plan to temporarily ban a plant that some users suggest could be an alternative to powerful and addictive opioid painkillers. In a notice set to be published Thursday in the Federal Register, the agency said it was withdrawing its plan to add two psychoactive components of the plant, known as kratom, to the list of the most dangerous drugs. Advocates urging the DEA to leave kratom off its list of controlled substances have argued that it can be used as a non-addictive painkiller or can help wean people off other addictive pain medications. Some lawmakers also complained that the DEA wasn't being transparent in its effort to ban the plant. However, cannabis, another pain-killing plant that has been proven to reduce opioid use and overdose, will remain on Schedule 1 on the list of most dangerous drugs that have no medical purpose and are illegal for any use. Officials in one Canadian province have recommended that the minimum legal age for marijuana and cannabis products should be 25. Gillian Connolly, Ottawa Public Health Manager of Health Promotion and Disease Prevention, told CBC News, quote, "One of the things that the research clearly demonstrates is that early access to cannabis can have detrimental effects for brain development, and the brain develops up to age 25, end quote. The Canadian Medical Association agrees with the recommendation, but they've acknowledged that such a high age limit would be unrealistic to enforce, and instead suggests that there should be purchase limits and THC potency limits for consumers aged 21 to 25. Cannabis advocates argue that the minimum age should match Canada's drinking age limit of 19. Arkansas voters will have their say on at least one medical marijuana proposal this November, the state Supreme Court ruled Thursday. A coalition of groups, including the State Chamber of Commerce and the Arkansas Farm Bureau, had asked the court to prevent officials from counting any votes for the measure. There are 2 such proposals on the November 8th ballot. The one allowed to stand Thursday allows patients with certain conditions to buy the drug, but differs from the second proposal in their restrictions and regulations. For example, the competing proposal allows patients to grow their own marijuana if they don't live near a dispensary. There still was a pending challenge to the second competing proposal as of Thursday. The court said in its opinion that the challenge largely asked the justices to interpret the content of the amendment, which is not within its purview. Colorado has yet again set another record for monthly marijuana sales. Legal marijuana shops tallied up $126 million in medical and recreational cannabis sales in August, beating the previous month's record of $122.67 million. Over 2/3 of revenue was derived from recreational sales, compared to last August when about 59% of revenue came from recreational consumers. Year to date, Colorado has tallied $846.5 million in sales, bringing in tax revenue of roughly $124.9 million. A prosecutor said Wednesday that he intends to file misdemeanor drug charges against the wife of the Democratic candidate for governor after federal investigators found about 2 pounds of marijuana at the couple's Utah home. The investigation began after U.S. Postal Service inspectors intercepted a package containing a small amount of pot that Donna Weinholtz tried to mail earlier this year to another home she and husband Mike Weinholtz own in California. Tooele County Chief Deputy Attorney Gary Searle said. Federal investigators went to the couple's Salt Lake City home and found the larger stash of marijuana, which Donna Weinholtz told them she uses to treat chronic pain, authorities said. Searle said it appears Donna Weinholtz had the drug for her personal use, and there's no evidence her husband was aware she had it. Searle said he plans to file misdemeanor drug possession charges against her soon, meaning she could face up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine if convicted. Dr. J. Thomas Ungerleider, a UCLA psychiatrist who was among the first researchers to prove the medical benefits of marijuana, has died at the age of 85. In the 1970s and 80s, Ungerleider ran clinical trials that demonstrated marijuana's therapeutic effects for patients with glaucoma and chemotherapy, served on President Nixon's Commission on Marijuana and Drug Abuse, and recommended decriminalizing pot. This has been your Cannabis Radio News for Thursday, October 13th, 2016. I'm Russ Belville.
Forwarding the cause of legalization and research of the growing cannabis industry, one podcast at a time. The Cannabis Radio Network. Cash?
Sorry.
I don't carry around cash, and I don't want to use the ATM and pay surcharges.
You don't need to carry cash. Haven't you heard about PayQuick?
Okay, tell me about PayQuick.
It's the safe and easy way to pay. It works just like your debit card to securely pay for your purchase, and it gives you rewards points every time you use it.
Nice.
PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQwick.com.
Nevada's local leaders are voting yes on 2 to regulate marijuana.
Through this Yes on 2, we're creating a direct line of revenue.
Our schools here in Nevada are so underfunded. This would be a great revenue source to expand and improve upon the educational system.
If you decriminalize it and regulate it and tax it, it's a win-win.
I'm Heidi Swank, and I'm voting yes on question 2.
And I'm voting yes on question 2.
And I'm voting yes on 2.
I'm Kitty Jung, and I'm voting yes on question 2.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
But we also have anecdotal evidence now from Colorado where some of the people who were taking marijuana for those purposes, the coroner believes after they died there was drug interactions.
Okay, maybe you're high too.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
The world of cannabis is evolving at a frenetic pace. The Russ Belville Show gets behind the headlines to take a deeper look at breaking news in our Cannabis Focus.
Today in the Cannabis Focus, we take a look at a story coming out of Utah, Layton, Utah, where a young man was accused and arrested by police on charges of adulterating the police officer's drink. He's working at a Subway. He's an employee, sandwich maker. 18-year-old man, and according to the cops, the state crime lab indicated that there was a presence of a foreign substance in this police officer's drink that he purchased at the Subway drive-thru. So this was one of those field tests that they use, and it supposedly determined that there was THC and methamphetamine in this officer's drink. The man's name was Tanis Lloyd Ukena. He was booked on August 8th into the county jail on the count of surreptitious administering of a poisonous substance. That is a second-degree felony. So he gets booked and jailed, and the crime lab then takes the drink and does the more thorough testing in an effort to duplicate and confirm the results, according to the crime lab. And they found, quote, the initial results could not be duplicated, end quote. And that they, quote, are unable to confirm that contaminants were in the officer's drink, end quote. Furthermore, they issued 3 urine and blood tests on that officer, and there was no THC or methamphetamine in this man's system. Now, the exams also showed that there was nothing medically wrong with the officer. He had gone through the drive-thru shortly after noon on August 8th, took several sips of the drink, and he said he felt like he'd been drugged and had difficulty braking at an intersection. So, of course, when he was accused of this, he said, I didn't put anything in there. He denied wrongdoing the whole time, and yet had to suffer through the indignity and the slander of his good name by being arrested in this charge of surreptitiously poisoning a police officer. And this is based, again, on one of these cheap field tests that they use. The cops use these. They got them in their cars. They dunk your supposed substance with the little strip or whatever, and if it turns color, it's supposed to indicate that there's drugs in there. These supposedly came up positive for methamphetamine and THC. But again, these cheap tests have been shown to have many false positives, and this has been well known for years. And yet our police departments all across the nation are still using these flawed tests to circumvent people's liberty, to arrest them, put cuffs on them, and shove them into cages just because there might be drugs that they detected with very little guarantee of accuracy. So the department here has not apologized. They did say, quote, the department would also like to express our appreciation for the patience of Tanis and his family during this investigation. All right. The cop, by the way, after the incident, took several days off because of the incident. So probably got paid leave while he was off of that. Meanwhile, the young man, Tanis, 18 years old, his life has been upended because of this thing. First of all, they've found that he's not going to be able to, or he had to delay his Mormon mission. And if you don't know, young Mormon men, when they turn 18, generally go off for 2 years overseas, usually, to proselytize the LDS Church. So he had to delay that. He had death threats and other sorts of threats coming to him online. It's left him in his home, homebound, terrified to have to deal with any of the people out there that might have a problem with him. At the press conference that they just had, the young man said, quote, I still believe in the justice system, but it has put thought into my mind. It got me thinking about the Innocence Project. And that's the project that has so far cleared over 250 people who've been falsely imprisoned and convicted thanks to DNA evidence or other new evidence. He continues to say, quote, I've been lucky that there's been proof to exonerate me, but there are other people I realize who are going through that situation. There are innocent people who are imprisoned or even put on death row. And so they are likely to be filing a lawsuit in Utah, civil lawsuit against the police department. And the father, of course, noted that there was no apology from the police. So this case, we will continue to follow it, and let's hope that this man receives some justice.
Yeah, baby.
All right, that sound means that it's 20 after the hour, 4:20 in the Mountain Time Zone. So happy 4:20, Alberta, Manitoba. I think I'm right. We're here in Vancouver, BC, live at the International Cannabis Business Conference. We'll be right back with some new polling data in our drug war data mining.
Next to THC and CBD, you can now add CBR to your cannabis vernacular. CBR as in cannabisradio.com.
The 2016 Southwest Cannabis Conference and Expo is only days away, October 14th through the 16th in Phoenix. Register right now at swccexpo2016.com. Check out over 100 exhibitors showcasing their businesses and the new advances being made in medical and legal cannabis markets. Plus, a can't-miss exclusive discussion on Arizona's Proposition 205. Check out over 100 exhibitors and thousands of cannabis professionals in Phoenix, October 14th through the 16th. Last-minute registration is open now at swccexpo2016.com.
Get ready to hear something good about cannabis.
I give you Jasmine Huff.
Tell us a little bit about Jasmine. Give us the good news about how you've gotten to where you are today.
Like all good children, I rejected my parents' values and ran off to become a capitalist in New York City and did a lot of work with an organization called Women 2.0. Looking at the cannabis industry, I said, you know what? Here we have a brand new industry. It's going to be $1 billion industry. And the rules of who leads this industry and who funds this industry haven't been written yet.
Good news. Only on cannabisradio.com.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on cannabisradio.com.
I am a round peg in a square hole.
Okay. Maybe you're high, too.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
Promoting the end of adult cannabis prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It's even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more on this edition of Drug War Data Mining.
Today in the Data Mines, we give you another update as we rapidly approach Election Day and our marijuana election night coverage here on cannabisradio.com. We'll be live in Los Angeles at the Drug Policy Alliance Prop 64 watch party. And the polls are looking pretty good. And in addition to state polls, we have some national polls to get to. And let's start in Canada since we're here. According to a Forum poll that was published last fall, they found that people were likely, that they found 18% of Canadians had smoked pot last year, and that 3% were likely and 9% somewhat likely to buy some pot if it were legal. So if you extrapolate that to the entire Canadian population, that's an estimate of 5 million adult Canadians who smoke pot at least once a month, another 900,000 very likely to join in, and another 2.1 million somewhat likely to join in. So that's why we're looking here at the International Cannabis Business Conference at an industry in Canada that is really set to explode. Now, on the national scene in the United States, there was a big headline that came out this week from the Pew Research Center, which has been asking about marijuana legalization since the 70s. And they found that 57% of adults in the United States said the use of marijuana should be made legal. Only 37% are in opposition, that want prohibition to continue. This, of course, is supported much more by Democrats at 66% support versus 30% opposition. For the Republicans, though, it's 41% in favor with 55% opposed. And, of course, the younger you are, the more likely you are to support legalization. Millennials, people between the ages of 18 and 35, are in favor of legalization with 71% support. Now, taking a look at some of the statewide polls, New Mexico isn't voting on marijuana legalization or any statewide initiative that I'm aware of, but they did have a survey that was published this last Sunday that found 61% of New Mexicans would support a taxed and regulated cannabis industry. Only 34% are in opposition. This is an increase from a 2014 poll. The same survey company found only 44% support. So we've gone up from 44 to 61 in New Mexico in just a couple of years. Now, taking a look at some of the states that will be voting on some legalization and some medical proposals. In Florida, the University of North Florida's most recent poll released just recently found that 77% of Floridians are backing Amendment 2, the medical marijuana amendment. And remember, in Florida, you've got to get 60% to add a constitutional amendment. So they're well ahead of what they need in Florida. Just 18% of the voters in Florida are against this. Just 18%. And not only is this getting support from Democrats, of course, but even the Republicans in Florida are above the 60% threshold for legalizing medical marijuana. So good news coming out of Florida. Meanwhile, we've got some bad news coming out of Arizona. The most recent poll by OH Predictive Insights, this was conducted at the end of September, shows an increase in support, but it shows the measure behind. The latest poll shows a 43% support, 47% opposed, and 10% undecided. Back in late August, the measure was behind 40 to 51. So it's gone up from 40 to 43, which is good news, but still a little scary as we get close to Election Day. Meanwhile, the Arizona State University's Journalism School and the Morrison Institute showed a poll at the same time the 40 to 51 poll was taken that showed the measure 50 to 40 ahead, support. So there's a question as to how accurate this OH Predictive Insights poll is compared to other pollsters out there. Now, we also have the polls most recently updated by Normal up on their website on October 3rd. Quick rundown shows Californians in support with about 60% support in various polls, about 53% support in Maine. We're looking at 53% support in Massachusetts, 57% support in Nevada. So of the states that will be voting on recreational marijuana legalization, it looks good for all of them except Arizona at this point. As far as medical, Florida's looking like a lock. Arkansas has two measures, and the polling on those shows the more conservative one with a 50% support, the more liberal one with 39% support. And there's not enough recent polling in Montana or North Dakota to really make any sort of predictions. That's your drug war data mining, marijuana legalization, MJ election night poll update for October 13th. We are very close to marijuana election night. All right, stay tuned. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have a couple of interviews I conducted just a couple of hours ago right here on the floor of the International Cannabis Business Conference and Expo in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia at the Hyatt Regency downtown. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com. I'm Radical Russ. We're live, and we'll be back right after this.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Keep your cannabis cravings under control. Feed your mind with CannabisRadio.com.
While the feds and state are doing their dance, you still need to transact business and manage your cash. Go professional and let your customers pay with PayQuick. They pay you and they earn rewards points. PayQuick connects to your bank account for free and secures all of your transactions. And with PayQuick, you can pay your producers and processors for free. Plus, it pays to have it because it makes depositing your cash safe and so easy. No cops, no crooks, just compliance and comfort, knowing you have your cannabis business in check with PayQuick. PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQuick.com.
I'm Mark Dion. I've spent 32 years in law enforcement, from beat cop to sheriff, working every day to protect Mainers. In Maine, there were over 1,700 citations given to adults for marijuana. That takes time. Time better spent solving murders, sexual assault cases, finding missing children. The system is broken. Yes on One regulates marijuana for adults, so police have time to fight serious, violent, and unsolved crimes. It's about time.
The Russ Belville Show. We're as much like Cheech and Chong as ordinary Americans are like the Three Stooges.
Hey, Mo! Hey, everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome. Mark Twain once said that when there's a gold rush, it's a good time to be in the pick and shovel business. Today, we look at the rapidly evolving markets in the marijuana green rush in our Cannabis Chronicles.
So, looking forward, you saying the change?
Yes.
Welcome, everybody, to day one of the International Cannabis Business Conference here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I'm here with Taryn from Miss Envy Botanicals. Taryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about Miss Envy, because I'm looking around your booth here. I see pictures of sexy people kissing. So what's going on here?
So this was actually launched for our Canna Sutra line. We make a medicated massage oil and a medicated personal lubricant. Everything we do is 100% fair trade, organic, and lab tested. You got to be careful what you're putting down there, you know?
Yeah.
So in our lubricant, we use MCT oil, some essential oils, and 420 milligrams of THC, which helps increase sensitivity, especially for women, and a longer-lasting orgasm. And it does actually get you high.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. And on the male side, is there benefits?
On the male side, more stamina. And I
understand stamina.
I can't believe I'm saying this on the radio, but I used it with somebody who did not ingest or smoke whatsoever, and boy, was he in for a surprise.
Wow. Okay. So great products, fair trade, like you mentioned, and it's going to have an effect on you. So if people are worried about drug tests or something like that, they need to keep that in mind.
Well, especially for women, we're very soft, membraney, and absorbous. So something like that, and it is THC, it is going to get into your bloodstream when being put in that general area, right? But with our topical aids, we haven't seen that happen as of yet. We do a line of topicals. We have a Buddha Buddha. That was the first product we ever launched in Canada. And we have great success with psoriasis, arthritis, and eczema.
Fantastic. Now, what is the legal status of products like this? I mean, it must be kind of difficult.
Especially we're in this legal gray area right now, especially within Canada. But the nice thing about it, most of our products are non-psychoactive. Okay. So we're not running into as much of a problem as, like, say, edible companies are. Cross your fingers.
Yeah, we shall see. Of course, Trudeau's government has promised to legalize, and how's that? You know,
all we can do is hope they don't take it away from the little guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be really sad for me to see happen. I really want to see our business flourish, and we're helping a lot of people.
So I take it then, by context, you are the little guy. How did you get started in this, and how long has this been going on?
So we've been operational since 2013. My partner actually started the business, and I really believed in what he was doing. And I went on a bit of a spiritual mission through Costa Rica, ate some iboga with a shaman, and woke up and called him and said, you have to hire me. This is what I want to do. I want to be a part of helping you grow and help reach people who really need our help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So from what industry or background did you come to this industry from?
Well, I've been working in the cannabis industry for a couple of years. I'd actually worked in a dispensary. I won't say which one, because then that's just not fair to everybody else.
Right.
And he and I became very close friends. He helped me through some very rough times, and I knew that this was what I wanted to do.
Fantastic. All right. So for the people listening out there that might want to know more about Miss Envy Botanicals here in Vancouver, are you throughout Canada, by the way, or just
We
Vancouver?
are. We're presently in 120 shops across Canada at the moment. So you can find us. You can find us in a top BC Pain Society in Vancouver, all of the Canna clinics, the Village. There's a ton of them.
Is there some online contacts you want to give
So
out?
now,
some
if
Facebooks
you
and
want to check us out, you can find us at missenvy.ca, and then we are also on Twitter and on Instagram. Our Instagram is
missenvy.botanicals, and our Twitter is missenvy.botanicals as well.
And who was just telling us that?
So that was Tennille. I have a concussion and terrible memory for this stuff. Plus, Instagram keeps deleting us. Like us.
Yeah. Help them out there. Check out all of those addresses we just gave you out. Miss Envy Botanicals. Taryn, thanks for talking to us, and have yourself a great expo.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you can absolutely help yourself. All right, so we're sitting here with Russ Belville, Radical Russ from Cannabis Radio. Is that right?
That's right.
Cannabis Radio. So tell me about Cannabis Radio. What does Cannabis Radio do?
CannabisRadio.com is the world's source for the best in cannabis-related podcasts, whether it be cultivation, activism, law, business. We've got it all.
Awesome. So these are it's a podcast hub essentially for people who are producing content.
Exactly. Ngaio Belam, the MC here, has a comedy podcast on as well. So we cover the culture, we cover all aspects, medical, all of that kind of stuff. And also we have my show, the Russ Belville Show, which is live every weekday from 3 to 5 Pacific.
This is audio only?
It's all radio, and it's kind of, I've been called the NPR of POT.
The NPR
so
of POT,
I do like
I
interviews
gotcha.
and analysis and data and polls and opinion. It's kind of a news program.
Very cool. Very cool. So we're social media sounds like a similar play, but with a little more video and a little more media involved. So,
And tell folks your name, by the way.
So my name is Riel Rusopoulos. I am the director of social media. We're a marketing agency. We do packaging and branding and sort of go-to-market strategies for weed companies. So we have Glacial Gold is probably our best known company that makes shatter and extracts and stuff.
Okay.
And essentially social media is, the soapbox for people to be able to get up and tell their story about their client, their product and their company. And there's some tools for giving out, for coupons and
Is it also
and
like with reviews and
yeah.
such?
Actually, and it's incentivized. So people get points for leaving reviews. They can share their reviews. The more people that click their links, they get points for that kind of stuff. And then eventually they can cash those points in for essentially like a currency that they can buy stuff off the site from the same people who are advertising, essentially, right?
Okay, that's
so
excellent.
It's a incentivized review platform is how I would describe it.
Is this the launch, or has it been around for a while?
I think officially we're still in beta. We kind of soft launched at 420 this year, and we've just been building the tools and proving the model really with Glacial Gold and some of our early companies just so I wouldn't even say we're really launched yet. We're in soft launch mode, I would say right now. So there are companies on the platform. It's easy to add businesses if you go on, and there's some genealogy. So, for example, you probably have a relationship with a bunch of businesses. You could give us a spreadsheet of people that would just import, here, these are all your businesses that you imported on. You get points for that, and they all get hey, Russ just, added you to social media. Come check your profile. That's kind of how we work with a dispensary or anybody who already has their own kind of list that they want to onboard these people onto our platform.
So socialmedia.com. Media, W-E-E-D-I-A. Socialmedia.com.
The social media play, obviously.
Right, exactly. I know that a lot of people in the advertising marketing space have run into difficulties on the internet. Things like, Google AdSense, Facebook and such, Instagram canceling accounts. Have you run into any problems that way?
Well, no. And I mean, effectively, that's what we're trying to provide the solution to that, right? Come set up a social media profile. You can post your photos the same way you can on Instagram. You can share links. You can, we're the replacement for those platforms that isn't going to get deleted for whatever random terms of service violation that they decided that whatever 20-year-old was manning the gate that day.
So this is something that both consumers and providers could be a part of, the businesses and their customers.
Yes, ideally, lots of both would be the right model. Yeah, I mean so for the public, it's a place for them to leave. Hey, I just tried this great new product and I want to leave a review on it, whether it's in our directory or not yet. And then from the flip side, if you're a producer or a company making these products, obviously it's a way for you to connect. And we have some contesting tools and some things like unique IDs that you can put on your product so people can register to win and things like that are, again, engagement tools for the companies to be able to start connecting with their audience directly instead of just through the dispensaries or whoever they're selling through.
Fantastic. Socialmedia.com. And are there any costs involved with this for either the customers or the businesses?
Not at this point. The businesses, we have this is essentially an introduction to our services. So if they're looking for marketing assistance, then we're an ad agency, so we can provide branding and packaging and that kind of development. But there's no cost to be on the platform, and that's just that's a benefit to everybody, basically, to have everybody in one place. So there's no cost to anybody to participate.
So being on the internet, I guess is there any sort of geographical limitation on this? Are you Canada only, or US is involved? Or?
There's no geographic location. We're focused right now on Canada because we are in Canada, and Canada's an exciting place from the point of view that it's a nationally synchronous place. So in other words, unlike the States where some states it's legal, some states it's not. Even if it's legal in Washington and Oregon, I can't, ship my product.
So looking forward, you say, the change takes time. In the next 10, 20 years, we may see, not just Canada, but United States, even Mexico, all of North America possibly being legalized. And as those stigmas fade, if the Googles and Facebooks and Instagram start being more friendly to this, do you feel that there's a threat to socialmedia.com, or is there enough value add that even if they were accepting business, you'd still be flying?
I think. Again, just there's always room for specialists who do the job better than a generalist.
Yeah.
So I think in that way we would be able to compete. And also, let's not forget, we can plug into other people's ad networks. It's not like having more people selling ads for us would be a bad thing.
Right,
Google,
right.
I've made a lot of money on Google, not on Google websites, but having their ads embedded on properties that drove traffic. So if you're a media company and you understand how to get people to listen in your case, or watch, or or flip the pages of your magazine, then there are people who are going to want to advertise. It's just figuring out companies like Google and Facebook can't do it right now because there's too many national restrictions for them. It's not worth the market's too small. It's not worth it for them. But it's worth it for other people to get in there ahead of time. And then when it does become legal, I just think it opens up more channels for revenue for you rather than being necessarily a competitor. They're not going to start a weed related site, right?
Right.
They'll have some groups on their platforms that are related, but at the end of the day, they're an ad platform that wants to sell more ads. So if they can put ads on our platform, then I'm happy to put their code on my platform and monetize that way as well.
All right. Sounds like a good plan. It's socialmedia.com. Encourage everyone to check this out, and thanks for taking the time to tell us all about it. Anything else you'd like to tell them?
I should really specify for your listeners, right now it's a closed community.
Okay.
So either if you check your phone, for example, you'll see there's a hotspot here for social media. So if you're at a dispensary that has our hotspots, you can sign up through our hotspots. or you have to be referred by somebody who is already a member.
Okay.
So they have a referral link when they're signed in, and they can email you a referral link. So basically, we have to get you signed up before you leave here, so that any of your members can get a referral link from you.
All right.
And that way they're signed up through you, basically.
All right, yeah. You guys are all following me out there on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Radical Russ, and we'll put the links out there and make it happen.
Yeah, all right.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for taking the time, and we'll
Thanks
talk
for
to you
taking
again
the time
sometime.
for us. I like the double interview format.
I know.
It's
It's like 2 birds with one stone, folks.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
From dabs to chivas, sativas to indicas, we roll out a whole concentrate of fresh new content every week. It's like going from the greenhouse to the dispensary. CannabisRadio.com.
Mindful of sustainable practices and limiting their environmental footprint, Sansal hemp is always grown outdoors, as nature intended. By starting with uniform genetic profiles, Sansal ensures the plant will maintain its optimal performance and yield consistently throughout its life cycle. It is through innovative processes that Sansal is able to achieve pure whole hemp extracts and meet industry requirements and the level of quality desired by many of their customers. Healthy plants, healthy people. SansalCBD.com. Improve your lifestyle naturally.
Tommy Chong is ready to cut through the smoke and change the tone of Tilk Radio.
Obama, for instance, no matter what he said, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be against him for saying whatever it is. Santa Claus is a nice guy. Someone says, Santa Claus must be a thief if Obama likes him. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a racist attitude.
The Tommy Chong Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome to my world.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Adrian, I ain't finished it. Adrian.
Okay. Maybe you're high, too.
Marijuana legalization is a worldwide phenomenon. Get yourself positioned for the global cannabis marketplace by attending the International Cannabis Business Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. You'll learn from established cannabis professionals, elected officials, and internationally recognized marijuana law reform activists. You'll also enjoy the ICBC's famous VIP party featuring ICBC special guest speaker and Canadian native Tommy Chong. The ICBC is happening in Vancouver on Thursday and Friday, October 13th and 14th at the Hyatt Regency. Log on to internationalcbc.com today to reserve your tickets. That's internationalcbc.com and bookmark our page for the next ICBCs taking place in Berlin, Germany and San Francisco, California. Don't miss the International Cannabis Business Conference, internationalcbc.com.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
All right, welcome back. We're live in Vancouver, British Columbia at the International Cannabis Business Conference. And today for the rant, I want to direct it out to the opponents of marijuana legalization that don't smoke pot. You know, the real prohibitionists out there, people like Kevin Sabet and all the others who had such dire predictions back in 2011 and 2012 about what sort of hellscape we would unleash in America if states were allowed to legalize pot. Well, it's now, 3-4 years after legalization has happened, And we've got some results. We've got some actual data to work with. And the Drug Policy Alliance has today issued a new report on the results of legalization. So let's take a look at some of the claims from Kevin Sabet, Project Sam, Patrick Kennedy, all the rest of those guys from back in 2011, 2012. First of all, youth use. Youth use. How much would kids use marijuana? We heard so much that if we legalized marijuana, we would send the wrong message to the children. Oh my God, what would the kids think? They'll think marijuana's okay. Next thing you know, they're all getting high, they're all dropping out, the world goes to hell. Well, that hasn't happened. According to the 2015 Monitoring the Future survey, and this is a survey of 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, since 2010, the annual prevalence of youth marijuana use has leveled out. Hasn't gone up, hadn't gone down, at least in a statistically significant way. Since 2010, 6 years now. Well, 2015 is the survey, so 5 years worth of survey data before and after legalization has shown that the message to the nation's youth has not been heard, apparently. They're not increasing their marijuana use. But what about the individual states? Well, the Washington Healthy Youth Survey, they run this every couple of years, and they ask 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, and they find there was no significant trends in youth marijuana use between 2002 and 2014. Over the past 12 years, including the last 2 years after legalization, there's not been much change. Between 2012 and 2014, the rates of 8th and 10th graders currently using marijuana in the past month decreased slightly, and the 6th graders and the 12th graders remained the same. That's Washington State. In Colorado, their Department of Public Health and the Environment issues their 2015 Healthy Kids Colorado survey. This is to 17,000 middle and high school students. And the number of youth that report that they'd used marijuana in the past month declined 25% from 2009, 3 years before legalization. Oh, it declined from 25%, Declined from 25% in 2009 to 21.2% in 2015. 3 years before, it's at 25. 2 years after, it's at 21.2. Furthermore, the rate of youth in Colorado who admitted to lifetime use, ever trying marijuana, has remained stable. In Oregon, 2015, our Oregon Healthy Teens Survey, they do this every other year, to 8th and 11th graders in the state, they've found that the current marijuana use among youth remains stable after the state legalized in 2014. And in Alaska, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, every 2 years to students in grades 9 and 12, also reports that the percentage of high school students who reported current marijuana use in the past 30 days remained statistically stable after legalization. Now, to be fair, adult marijuana use only became legal in the end of February 2015, so it's not a ton of time here to collect data yet in Alaska. And Alaska doesn't have any sales yet, so jury's still out there. How about arrests? Marijuana arrests. We've often heard these prohibitionists talk about how legalizing marijuana is not really going to free up any cops' time. Well, it's not really, because alcohol is legal and has regulations, and my gosh, there's so many arrests related to alcohol and its enforcement. Remember that little line? Well, looking at the arrests in Colorado, total number of arrests decreased by 46% between 2012 and 2014, from almost 13,000 to just over 7,000. That's all marijuana arrests. The number of court filings for any marijuana charge declined 81% in that same span, or 2012 to 2015, from over 10,000 to just under 2,000. And felony marijuana filings, again, the stuff that's not made legal in Colorado, the felony marijuana filings down 45%. In Washington State, the total number of low-level marijuana court filings fell by 98%, from almost 7,000 in 2011 to 120 in 2013. Now, the low level they're talking about is below felony. In Washington State, 40 grams is a felony. 28 to 40 is still a misdemeanor, right? So we're talking about those 28 to 40s went from Over almost 7,000 to just 120. As far as all court filings, Washington State dropped by 63% for all charges. Now, in Washington, D.C., marijuana arrests decreased 85% from 2014 to 2015. Possession arrests dropped 98% from 1,840 to just 32 in 2015. In Alaska, charges and arrests decreased by 59% between 2013 and 2015. In Oregon, marijuana arrests have declined 50% from 2011 to 2014 for all marijuana offenses. So in every place that's legalized, substantially fewer arrests, substantially fewer charges, which has to mean there's more time for our criminal justice system to deal with more important matters. There still remains one problem. The data from Colorado and Washington show us that even though the legalization has substantially reduced the total number of minorities, of blacks and Latinos that get arrested, like the overall total is way down, the racial disparity is not. And that just shows us that the racial disparity in criminal justice isn't just a marijuana phenomenon. It exists all throughout criminal justice. Still, far fewer blacks and Latinos being arrested is a good thing. We need greater reforms over our entire criminal justice system before we'll affect that racial disparity. How about the roads? Remember, we're going to legalize marijuana, and oh my God, stoned mayhem on the freeways. All the stoners will be out there driving. We got no way to catch them, got no breathalyzer. What the hell's going to happen? Well, here's what happened. The total number of arrests for DUI for both alcohol and other drugs, including marijuana, has declined in Colorado and Washington. Colorado State Patrol says the number of DUI citations declined 18% from 2014 to 2015. And according to Washington State Patrol, all DUI arrests declined 8% from 2013 to 2014. Now, the naysayers will say, well, that's all DUIs. That's the alcohol DUIs have gone down in a large degree. And that's true, but how do we know that those didn't go down because people switched from alcohol to marijuana now that it's legal? Because very few of the overall DUI arrests in Colorado and Washington have marijuana as the only drug. It was about 8% in Colorado and about 4% in Washington. Also, marijuana, even though it was involved in Colorado, it was involved in slightly fewer DUI arrests from 2014 to 2015. And the post-legalization traffic fatality rate, how many people are dying on the roads, has stayed statistically consistent and is lower in each state than the decade before and remain lower than the national average. Now, Oregon and Alaska, we don't have as much data yet, but the early indications show that the traffic fatalities and problems haven't increased in those states either. And what about the money? You remember Kevin Sabet telling us that for every $1 you get in alcohol and tobacco taxes, they cost us $10 in public costs? That it's a lot. It's a loser because you're not going to ever raise as much revenue as what it costs society. Well, according to Colorado's revenues, they were projected to bring in $70 million a year. They went on to bring in $78 million in the first year and went on to bring in $129 million in the second fiscal year. So what's that, about $200 million or so? So, Kevin, can you point out $2 billion in costs in Colorado? In Washington, they had predicted it'd be $162 million in the first 2 years. $162 million. In the first year, they got $78 million. In the second year, they got $186 million. Their total that they got, if they include all the rest, $220 million versus $162 million projection. $220 million. Again, we need to find, Kevin, $2.2 billion in marijuana-related costs in Washington State to make your analogy fit. Hell, I'll give you a break even if you can find $220 million in costs. How about Oregon? Our revenue office estimated an average of $23 million a year. They recently upgraded that to $31 million. Turns out we've been making about $4 million a month in Oregon and $22.5 million just in the first 6 months. So that's on track for $45 million versus a $31 million estimate. So sorry, Kevin Sabet. Sorry, Patrick Kennedy. Sorry for all you prohibitionists out there, but every prediction you made about how marijuana legalization would lead to the downfall of society has been proven false. That's all the time we got for Hour 1, folks. Stay tuned. Hour 2 is next. Toker Talk Radio. Phone lines are open at 650-LEGAL-MJ, and we'll be talking to some great people here live in Vancouver. For everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for listening, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant